Hi, I'm Kylie Wallace, and I will be talking about mental health in Alaska. More specifically, I will be talking about how adolescents are affected by suicide in native villages. This subject first caught my attention because I'm from Alaska, and growing up, we constantly heard that Alaska has really, really high rates of suicide, specifically in some of these native villages. And so as I did more research, I found that Alaskans are um, dis- disproportionately affected by suicide compared to the rest of the United States. Alaskan natives have 2 times greater rates of suicide than non-native Alaskans, and over 3 times greater rates of suicide than the United States as a whole. Um, so in this presentation, I will be giving a brief overview of some of the risk factors that put adolescents at greater risk for thinking about or actually committing suicide. I will also be talking about factors that protect young people from suicidal idealizations. And then lastly, I will also be talking about some of the preventative steps that communities can take just to create a safer, healthier environment. So one of the greatest risks that put young people at a greater chance of committing suicide is having a strong association with attempted suicide. This might mean that they have a family member or a friend who has attempted suicide before. The reason that association with suicide puts young people at such a great risk is because um, it can cause depression or hopelessness. According to the University of California, Santa Cruz, depression, opposed to sadness, is characterized by longer and deeper feelings of despondency. Um, I think as Alaskans, many people deal with depression, especially seasonal depression, especially as a young person when you just don't really know your place in society yet and you're still trying to figure it out. This can be especially crushing. Um, Association with suicide is also huge for villages because they don't operate the same as other communities. They're very small and close knit. They're usually isolated from the road system or the mainland. And this creates an environment of strong community ties. I know that for myself, when I was in high school, one of my classmates died in a car accident right after graduation. And even though she was one of my classmates and one of my friends, it didn't just affect me, it affected so many other people because she was a role model and she was a cheerleader. It affected family, friends, and relatives and the younger kids who looked up to her. And that's the same with suicide too. It doesn't just affect one person in small communities. Another factor that puts young people at risk for thinking about committing suicide is substance abuse. And people treated for alcohol abuse are about 10 times greater risk for suicide compared to people who aren't. Substance abuse is a problem because it can cause depression. Depression is linked to substance abuse. This is because abusers of alcohol and drugs often see no way out of their addictions, so they'll experience hopelessness or a lack of purpose. It also makes young people prone to risky behaviors, which can lead to serious consequences. I will next be talking about the protective factors that work to create a healthy environment for young people. And one of the greatest is having a strong support system. This could be family, friends, teachers at school. There's so many opportunities to create relationships with people, and it's so important for young people because it gives them someone that they can talk to, someone that they trust. For me, my support system is definitely my family. Even when I'm away at school and college, they're always just a phone call away, and uh, it's just really awesome to have someone there to talk to, especially when you're feeling sad or just don't know what to do. even though having a strong support system is important, it's also especially important that young people learn to practice self-care. I first heard about self-care in my social work class this year. And pretty much what it is it's just taking active steps to care for yourself. Um, for many people, self-care looks different. It may include resting, exercising, making time to socialize, attending church, or spending time away from studies or away from sports or just away from what's causing stress or anxiety or what's really making you feel down. Another aspect that can work to protect young people is having positive adult influences. Many times, kids imitate what they see around them. So if their parents have alcohol or drugs in the house growing up, they're not going to really understand why it's a problem or why they shouldn't do it themselves. Even just other adults in the community, it doesn't even have to be people in your own home, but kids, especially young kids, are going to mirror what they see around them. So, according to Hawkins, Cummins, and Marlett, in an essay they wrote in 2004, American Indian and Alaska Native adolescents really struggle with marijuana use. They have a lot higher rates of use than other groups, which shows that there really is a problem in some of these small communities controlling what comes in and out of the schools or out of their kids' hands. And one of the greatest ways to send a powerful message to these young people is just substance abuse preventive programs such as DARE. And DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. And it's a great tool. My school used it when I was a kid of just informing. We started doing it in elementary school. So as, second, third, and fourth graders, we started learning about drugs and about some of the problems that they can cause, and ways that we can model healthy behavior. As I got older, though, this DARE program was mostly aimed at elementary school students, so it wasn't a huge part of like my middle school or high school, which is kind of unfortunate because I think that's when kids really start experimenting with drugs. And so for me, what really helped me to make healthy decisions, like regarding my own life, was my dad would have open conversations about it. He would start the conversation, or even if I did, he was always like willing to listen. He wouldn't just be like, no, don't do that. Like, he just would listen and then encourage me to like make healthy decisions. Or he would ask me like, well, have you done research on it? Or why do you even want to like be doing this stuff in the first place? And so that was really important for me because I knew what my dad's opinion was. I had heard from like adult teachers at my school, and then I could make an informed decision that like respected myself and respected my parents. Another factor that like communities really should pay attention to is just keeping kids in school. And one reason that I think that young people struggle with substance abuse is just poverty too, or hopelessness and depression. Like, and poverty is passed on. Kids see that their parents are working minimum wage jobs, and then they don't see the point to continue on in education, and it's just like a never-ending cycle. And so to keep kids in school and to keep kids interested in high school and going to college is so important. And one of the reasons that Native villages struggle with this is because Native way of life is way different than Western society, and Western society is trying to force a standard curriculum onto these villages. And that can be taking kids out of their comfort zone. It's taking kids out of the natural learning environment, such as nature or fish camp or hunting season or picking berries. There's so many opportunities wherever you go to learn and whatever you do to learn. And so it's really important for these villages and the teachers and communities to foster a positive environment where these kids can learn within their comfort zones, and just keep them interested in school. And so that's pretty much all I have. There are many different factors that go in, risk factors that cause young people to commit suicide, whether it's depression or addiction or even just poverty. But there are so many things that we as community members and adults and role models can do to mirror positive behaviors and to be there for our friends and our family members. Thank you.